was a massive undertaking at the time of the English Civil War. Oliver Cromwell did actually support it, but the creator of it, Brian Walton, was a massive royalist. And they began to produce it with a preface that acknowledged Cromwell, but swiftly changed it to the loyal edition. And happily, Newman's is one of the loyal editions, so with a preface to Charles II. I would like to see how it's arranged in the different languages.
In terms of where we stand, you guys have a we're this side of the desk, roughly where I am.
Cool, thank you. So you can see some music.
Yes, please.
I'll turn a few.
Great, thank you. That's fine.
So that.
I'm surprised it's lasted that long.
Yeah.
Lord Mayor so pleased at the chance too long.
So grateful you were.
Do you remember me?
Yes, that's right.
No.
Yes, yes, sir.
So I apologise for not reaching you earlier.
Nice to see you.
Has he not been too disruptive to
Not at all.
operations?
You're right.
Well, nearly everything, including the column, is the most diversified. The lady horses came from San Andrea della Valle as well. And we have a fine organ, and the choir sing every Sunday. 16th century polyphony, mostly in Gregorian chant, to match the Latin liturgy.
And are they all residents? Or
They're all local.
They
A
come
lot of
from
students
all
from
over, do
the
they?
Birmingham Conservatoire.
I see.
The congregation are young and very diversified. A lot of Asian and African people come, and an increasing number of Chinese as well. Yes, they do, but to give them something that they're familiar with. Yes.
But do you think somebody was doing
Yes, they do.
Here via the canal system, it was quite an undertaking, and then put in place. Essentially, Newman built a brick box and put an old factory roof on it, adorned it beautifully inside, and the intention was always to replace it with something worthier, but then finally happened afterwards. This is where the old so this is the Newman shrine. It's part of the old church, so it's a chapel that Newman's rebuilt, and it's still where the fathers say their daily prayers together. It became the Newman shrine in 2010 when he was born. So when he was altar, he used to preach and give instruction in here. And he's surrounded by members of the Oratory of St. So other blessed saints of the Oratory. And here we see some of the original artwork of the church, a rather idiosyncratic design. Here we have some relics, which is the sort of main focus of veneration for parishioners and visitors. As you'll see behind, things like his crow's mitre. He wasn't a bishop, but as a cardinal, he was entitled to use those things.
He never went to Rome.
He went to Rome twice, including to get his This is the Cardinal's library, so called because it is his collection of books. He started to buy books on a more serious scale when he was in Oxford, but realising he may not be spending the rest of his life there after all. And in particular, he acquired a very large collection of works by the fathers of the church, so St. Gregory, St. Augustine, St. Athanasius, who were his heroes really, and influenced his theology the most. But we have a few examples of one or two treasures from our library. We have Newman's copy of the Polyglot Bible, which was a work by a massive undertaking by Brian Walton. It was the first book to be published by subscription. So people paid £50 each, an enormous sum, because it's 6 folios of this. And it is the Bible in its original Greek and Hebrew, but then also translated into Samaritan, Greek, Chaldean, Syriac, Arabic, Ethiopic, and Persian. I'm happy to say that we have a loyal edition. So there was a preface that acknowledged Cromwell's interest in it, and indeed he did back it. He did not charge duty for the paper to produce it, but as soon as they could, they dropped him from the preface and acknowledged the king, because Brian Walton was. And so you can see how it is set out. It's, even just as a work of Oriental scholarship, it is an extraordinary thing.
And it's Syriac.
Yes, amazing, isn't it? And here we have, having mentioned the dream of Gerontius, this is the score that Elgar donated to the library, the manuscript score from which he composed. So I offer this manuscript to the Library of the Oratory with the deepest reverence to the memory of Cardinal Newman, whose poem I've had the honour to attempt to set to music. So in 1902 he donated it, and it's signed by the soloists and Hans Richter, who he conducted the premiere. And which was the one that didn't go very well in the town hall, unfortunately.
It got better after that.
It did, and then its reception was much greater. But it sent Elgar into a bit of a depression, that the premiere did not go so well.
But I'm always fascinated how he came across this.
He knew it because he was a Catholic, and he then received it as a wedding present as well. And so he was very much aware of it, but alas, did not meet Newman, but was commissioned to do this by the Birmingham Musical Festival, Birmingham Music Festival in 1900. And it is the score, as we can see. It has one or two interesting features to it. It's in his own hand, yes, with the occasional note by Richter when he conducted it.
But presumably you must have copied his original, right?
Well, I mean, it looks as though it's so tidy, isn't it? But then I think that's how his mind worked. There are inserts where I think it has been altered slightly, and he worked very closely with Jaeger, the publisher, to create it. But rather charmingly, he makes a couple of meteorological observations. So here we have at Birchwood Lodge in summertime, and then here we have, very interestingly, Birchwood Lodge in thunderstorm. This matches the mood of the music, so this is the point at which Gerontius has a glimpse of the devils. So the thunderstorm was raging outside his home as he was writing this, which I think sought to inspire him. Precisely, very much that sort. And then we have perhaps the most interesting moment in the piece, which is when Gerontius has a single glimpse of God. And God is represented by this almighty chord here. And Elgar writes, "For one moment must every instrument exert its fullest force." So that is the moment when he glimpses God, is judged, and then gets led in a beautiful ending by the angel into purgatory. So it's quite a treasure for us to have. And certainly when it was completed...
It must be totally unique, isn't it?
Oh yes, it is, yes. Mm-hmm.
Not even the Royal College of Music has
They have not. And at the end...
Was it in red?
So that might be a late edition or a bit of Richter even.
But you think Richter put it in blue?
He did some blue and some purple, actually. Yes, quite. So he only received the score the evening before the premiere, which I don't think helped. Quite. But he writes at the end, this is quoting Ruskin, "This is the best of me, for the rest I ate and drank and slept, loved and hated like another. My life was as the vapour and is not. But this I saw and knew, this if anything of mine is worth your memory, Edward Elgar, Birchwood Lodge, 1900. And it's then signed by every member of the orchestra. And speaking of orchestras, this is Newman's viola, or his fiddle, as he called it, which he just played recreationally.
Did
And
he play particular pieces?
he liked Beethoven.
But with others?
There was a little ensemble of other string players.
Did you get the sort of Daniel down from the back?
So I hope it is in the next few years.
So we're now entering Cardinal Newman's room.
Yes. Splendid.
So this is the room that Newman occupied. It remains untouched since his death in 1890. The fathers took the decision to preserve it as a shrine. So there's no electricity, modern lighting or heating in here. This is the famous desk at which he wrote the tens of thousands of letters. But also, this is where he wrote the Dream of Drontius on scraps of paper under an inspiration that he said he couldn't really account for apart from it being divine. And when he finished it, he said, I could no more write another word than I could fly. So it really was just a momentary inspiration. But we have in this room the sort of cozier, his living space, the books he obviously wanted to have around him to hand, and pictures. We start to see photographs of his friends and people who were important to him, like the Duke of Norfolk and Bishop Ullathorne, and of course, always centre stage is St Philip, and that is Pope Leo XIII who declared him a cardinal. But if we perhaps just take a little read. So the church that they knew as the current one, and they used to serve mass in it and then go off to school, that sort of thing.
And loved it, apparently.
Oh yes, he said it was life lived in excelsis.
Yes, I've seen it wonderful.
So we pass here, sir, an interesting what's left of a map of the Sudan. When General Gordon was assassinated in Khartoum, they found amongst his effects a copy of the Dream of Drontius, which he'd heavily annotated. And this rather caught Newman's imagination. So he just cut it out of the Times, a copy of a map of the Sudan to his wall, as a little reminder, I think. And it's near his prayer desk, where you see his prayer books and rosaries and that sort of thing. And then we pass, these are breviaries and other works. In fact, part of his classical volumes are here as well.
Yeah.
Originally, he slept on this side of the park. His vestments, which when you live in a single room, you have to be very efficient with space. So they're all packed away. Yes, so members of the community and brothers as well as the fathers. St Francis de Sales, to whom he had a great devotion, presides over the chapel. But by far the most interesting wall in this room is here. So these were friends of Newman who, when they died, he either just pinned a memorial card or hung a photograph. So when he was saying Mass here, as a part of the canon, there is the memento for the dead, when you might name people for whom you're particularly praying. And here he could have a visual reminder of the people for whom he was praying. And they include Father Edward Caswell, who was a priest of this oratory and a famous hymn writer and translator. So, for example, the Christmas carol, See Amid the Winter Snow, that's Father Caswell. And then we have two sons of William Wilberforce, the abolitionist. So we have Henry and Robert, who knew Newman at Oxford, and then converted. Robert was training to be a Catholic priest when he died in Rome and is buried at the Basilica of Santa Maria Sopra. So you get a real sense in this room of the importance of friendship to him.
Who's that?
That's a baldacchino. It's a very Victorian-looking one, yes. In fact, that was falling to bits, and happily it's had some conservation work done on it.
So just think it's survival.
Yes, indeed.
You want to see this in community, in our colour and our household.
That was presumably later. But having been to the canonisation,
Taking some of the fathers and brothers.
and then
Beautiful day overlooking.
Yeah.
I've been trying for 5 years to come here. Yeah. Persuade my office that somehow we could fit it in, but I couldn't get here.
Brother David.
And you were there.
Wonderful day.